It's kind of both. Let me explain that. That happens a lot. After a storm like this in the insurance industry, it's called a catastrophe, CAT for short. And so they bring in from all over the country CAT adjusters. Okay? So right now, one of the problems that we're having here in Florida is we got Harvey and we got Maria and we got Irma. And the CAT adjusters, who usually would be, they'd come in from Washington State and Texas and Oklahoma, Mississippi, they'd come to Florida and they'd handle this. But now a bunch of them are in Texas and a bunch of them are in Puerto Rico. So the CAT adjusters are spread thin. That is a reason why there's a lot more delay than we usually see. There's always delay, but there's a lot more now. But these adjusters, the CAT adjusters come in, and I can't tell you how many times my client will say, well, the adjuster who came out said, yeah, you're getting a new roof, no question about that, and then the damage to the siding that got ripped off, that's good, and even the rotten wood under it, I didn't know there was any rotten wood, but that's covered too. And then 2 weeks later, you get a letter and go, sorry, denied, or it doesn't include any. That's typical. That's the stuff that keeps people up at night and drives them crazy. Don't stay up tonight thinking about it, and don't try to figure it out. That's a no. They're saying no to some of your stuff, even if they don't say it out loud. If their estimate, if the adjuster comes out and you got a roof off and they say you get new cabinets and that's it, that's a no to the roof. And it sounds like it's low on some stuff too. So it's a no and it's low. So here's what you do. Do you have a contractor's estimate?
Not yet.
It's hard to get. The same thing going on with the contractors. Those guys are buried. And so get a contractor's estimate. Once you get that contractor's estimate, just email me. Who's your insurance company? Citizens. Just email me, Citizens, what they've concluded and your contractor's estimate. All I need is those two things. Just get a contractor out, estimate everything. Interior damage, just say, sir, I need an estimate to get this house back the way it was. That's all I need. And just so you all know, you do have additional coverage for things like debris removal. So I want you to picture buckets of coverage. Here's your big bucket, that's your house. And you got a certain policy limit for your house. That's actually called coverage A for your house. All right? So you got that bucket. Coverage B is other structures. You got a shed out back, a boathouse. That's coverage B. It's a little bit smaller coverage. Coverage C is the contents of your house, the stuff inside the house. And then you've got, in addition to that, living expenses for when you're out of the house, either because you can't live in it, it's been destroyed or damaged so much you can't be in there, or during the reconstruction phase. Okay? In addition to that, you've got additional coverage for debris removal. And you've got additional coverage for what's called law and ordinance. So let's say your house was built in 1950, 1960, whatever. It's got windows. You now got an opening. You got to replace a window. And they say you got to put hurricane windows in. They're going to tell you, well, all the other 32 openings are on you. We just got to do the one that was damaged. That's not true for two reasons. One, remember, matching. You paid for matching. The other is, we may go under the law and ordinance coverage to say, look, you got to bring all of them up to code at this point. I try to get it under matching because you got more policy limits there, but you let me worry about that. So your job, your homework, get a contractor. Make sure it's somebody you trust. It's somebody licensed here in Florida. It's a general contractor or a building contractor. It's one of those two. Get an estimate for the whole thing. If they want to have a roofer come out and do the estimate for the roof, that's fine. Get me that. Get me Citizens, and I'll look at that. Until then, don't worry about it. You're going to hear me say that a lot because I'm passionate about this. It breaks my heart that people have gone through this to then sit up at night and they're wondering, what do I do about, and they don't even know what to do. And it keeps people up at night. I'm here to give you peace of mind. Stop worrying about the insurance stuff. let me do it. And I'll tell you what the next right step is. There are really two parts of this that I'm passionate about. The first part is to make sure the insurance company pays what you bought. And you all don't know what you bought mostly, and if you do, you don't know how to make them pay. I do. And so I want to make sure the insurance company doesn't pay more than what they owe, just pays what they owe for your most important investment, your home. The other thing, the other side of it is, that I'm passionate about, is some lawyers, when a storm happens, something like this happens, they start dabbling and they start dealing with these cases, they get these cases. I deal with this all day, every day. It is my passion to help policyholders. Other people dabble and then they end up, the insurance company lowballs it, you got a lawyer who's dabbling, and you end up with a homeowner who gets pennies on the dollar. I'm here, and the reason I'm here is to prevent those two things from happening. Do I want to represent you? You better believe it. Because I don't think there's anybody in the state that does it better or more than what I do. And that's why I'm here. So here's what you do. The guy comes out, or the gal comes out, is an adjuster, and they got a bad attitude, and you go, oh my gosh, I got a bad one. Just let them do what they're going to do. Don't try to convince them of anything. Don't tell them, oh, I think that's due to this or just say, have at it. Here, you come inside. You can point to the damage. Let them do whatever they're going to do, and don't worry about it. Don't call them and say, I want a different adjuster. Just let them do. Because I'll tell you what, those bad adjusters who have bad attitudes, they make bad witnesses, I assure you. And so now you're all fired up and you get somebody in there and they bring Mr. Nice Guy out there and go, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. Now they're going to call him as the witness, and I still got tools in my toolbox, but I like it when the guy up there is ready to explode. And believe me, I can bring it out. I can bring out the worst in him. So don't do that. I understand why, and I'm telling everybody, just let them do what they're going to do. And I don't care if they come and say, you get 10 cents or you get $100,000, just let them do whatever it is they want to do. They're the professionals. Don't try to drive the conversation. Don't try to convince them of anything, because I'm often, my book is in here in a lot of these packets. I have a little section that's called Winning Without Your Help. And I tell my clients, stop helping me. Let me do what I got to do. And just let them do what they're going to do. Because everything you say, they're going to say, well, then she said this, and then he said that, and then I got to deal with it. If your contractor says it's $10,000 and their contractor says, or the insurance company says, let's say it's $8,000. That difference of $2,000, that's a good case for me. That's a lot of money for people. That's a lot of money. And again, if I win, they got to pay me. If I lose, I work for free. That's even if it's a low ball of $2,000. So I know that's a lot of money for people. It impacts families. And so don't go, well, that's just not enough money to trouble with. Let me look at it. This period between now and 6 months after the storm is going to be the most frustrating time. Nothing's going to move fast. Everything's going to be delayed. And there's not a lot we can do about that from a legal standpoint, as long as, if we sued them and say, look, it's been 3 months and we don't have a claims decision. We're not really going to be able to do that. There's a statute in Florida that says the insurance company has 90 days to pay or deny. From the time the claim is submitted, and the claim is submitted when you get them all the stuff, all right? But it doesn't matter, because the last sentence of that statute says, however, the failure to pay or deny within 90 days shall not form the basis of a lawsuit. So we can't really base it on that. There are a lot of outs for the insurance company on the timing thing. I would say, and I've told everybody after every storm, the first 6 months are kind of the honeymoon phase where they're thinking, all right, I think it's working out. I think I married the right person, but I don't know. This is not going the way I thought it would go. But I'm going to stick it in there. 6 months in, they go, oh, crap, I made a mistake. And it's about 6 months in when the honeymoon's over, and y'all are going to start, and your neighbor's going to start calling me, because that's when the denials and the lowballs really start coming in. Because right now they're kind of doing their thing. It's going to be a long time, and maybe once you get that, we're going to have to get an estimate from your contractor, and that person is going to be backed up. And so then we got to get your contractor's estimate and review both those. There's no good answer for that question. It's going to take a while, 6 months. And I hate saying that, but it really is. Before this starts getting sorted out, and then we know exactly what direction people are going in. And they're going to miss it. They're going through, a lot of them are going through, and it's just easier to go for the field adjuster to go, yeah, I'm going to kick that up to major claims and get it off his desk. They get paid per job, and the longer that job stays on their desk, the less really they make on it. Well, here they're kind of different jobs. Here's what I would tell both of you. Have you hired the public adjuster yet? The insurance company's made their decision. You got that? Yeah, get your contractor's estimate. Let me look at those two things. And the only way you make them pay is file a lawsuit, and that's what a lawyer does, is file a lawsuit. And then my goal, and it's almost every time, but my goal is if I get them to pay the right amount, or more, get them to pay more, they got to pay my fees and costs. You get your house fixed, I don't take a piece of that, and if I lose, I work for free. That's kind of the difference. And I would just say, let them do what they're going to do. And if they just keep ignoring you after you've said, hey, I need you to respond to me, there's a statute that says they have 14 days to at least respond to your request. Let's let it linger a little bit longer. All right, now, just let them do what they're going to do. It's 90 days. Here's the statute. It says they have 90 days to pay or deny once you submit all the documents and they've inspected. 90 days. Huh? No, 90 days. And then the last sentence in the statute says, however, the failure to pay or deny in that 90-day period shall not form the basis of a lawsuit. So I can't sue under that statute. But what I can do is if they have been out and inspected and they just ignore you, I call that a constructive denial. Because whether I send you a letter that says I ain't paying you, or if I just ignore you, your bank account's the same, right? Ain't no check. And so that's a denial. It's either a written denial or it's a constructive denial. You've done your thing. Just let them do what they're going to do. Because if you egg them on some more, then they may send something that's... I'd rather have this constructive denial than them lowballing you. Just makes our job easier. They have a duty under statute and under case law. They have a duty to come out and adequately and in good faith adjust your claim and give you not some number they hope you'll take. They have a duty to give you the right amount to fix your house. One of the things they're doing is using a computer program called Xactimate. And Xactimate is not taking into account the catastrophe that's occurred. They are not taking into account the current labor rates or material rates, given what everybody's going through here right now. They're given amounts that my contractors will say, I can't even get the job started with that amount. I can't get people to come out and work for that amount, let alone the materials. Usually that's not going to be a problem to cash it. Is the mortgage company on it?
No mortgage.
Okay. Let me answer this question people often have. Mortgage companies on the check. What do? I got a check. Mortgage company's on it. What do I do? You give it to the mortgage. You sign a contract with your contractor. If it's, once we're done and it's the right amount of money, sign a contract with your contractor. You give your mortgage company the money, and they pay you and the contractor as the work progresses. Second question that arises when what if I'm behind? Can they take my money, apply it to my principal instead of fixing my house? No, they got to fix your house. So don't worry about that part of it. So do you have checks you're concerned about? just hold on to it. If it's not enough, just get me the stuff that your contractor's estimate and theirs, and then they'll reissue the check later. It is the last step.
Last step.
A busy lawyer who's very aggressive might try in front of a jury, if they're real aggressive, 1 or 2 cases a year in front of a jury. I'm in front of juries 5 and 10 times a year, often. So my percentage is a little bit higher because I don't negotiate. If my contractor says it's $25,000, I don't move. I only work with contractors I trust. If you have a contractor and I get a number from it and I'm thinking, I don't know about that, I'll have my contractor come and do their own estimate, and I don't move. And so if it's $25,000, I'd say it's $25,000 and pay me separate. You pay my fees and costs separate, but pay my client $25,000. I had an email recently where a defense lawyer wrote me back and said, Mark, and I know this guy, Mark, you only went down 2 cents in response to our offer to settle the case. And I thought, well, that's embarrassing. So I said, I do need to reply to that. And I said, I apologize. That was a mistake. I did not mean to go down. So make sure that's the goal. I want to get you the money you need to fix your house. You've already gone through enough. And I don't need some contractor give me some high number that's sort of fluffed, and then I negotiate off of that. I don't even know what number to pick when they do that. Just give me the right number, and I'll stick with it. And if we got to try the case, boy, let's go do it. Because when I'm picking a jury, I'm looking out at a group of folks like you. And my goal, I want to connect with them, and I want to put them in their seat and make sure they understand what my client's going through in this case. And so mine are a little bit higher percentage because of that non-negotiating tactic. I know you don't, and that's why I'm looking for clients like that. Because, man, when I'm in a courtroom, that's where I'm alive, and that's where I want to be. I just want clients to say, yes, let's go do it. And so I do try a lot more than folks, but that's what I like to do. Having said that, out of 100 cases, 95 or more are going to settle because they know we're not going to negotiate. And so that hopefully answers your question. Ignore it. There's a statute, 627.7015, that says at the point when there's a dispute between you and the insurance company, a dispute, subsection 2 says when there's a dispute, the insurance company needs to notify you of the state-sponsored mediation program. Okay? The failure to do that when there's a dispute, it takes out of the policy what's called an appraisal clause. So it removes it. They're no longer allowed to enforce their appraisal clause. There's a bunch of stuff you don't need to worry about. You can ignore that letter. They send it out before there's a dispute. So if there's an appraisal clause in your policy, they've now waived it. An appraisal is bad. It's a splitting the baby thing, and it ends up costing you a lot of money. And so we don't want to go through appraisal. And I don't even know if the frontline policy has an appraisal clause. All right, so just let them do what they're going to do. But you need to don't worry about the letter. Let's let you get a contractor and let's find out how much it's going to be to fix your house. You're going to need to do that. I suspect the frontline estimate, if they're already sending you the dispute letter before there's a dispute, they're probably going to be a lowball. So let's go ahead and make sure you get a roofer out, somebody out to give us an estimate for the wind damage. So that when we get the frontline thing, I can look at those two things. It'll take me a couple minutes, and I'll tell you, yes, you have a case, and here's the next right step. Here's what he meant, and that's why I asked that question. Let's say this is your tub area, and you've got a supply line back here, and it's spraying into this open space back here. So you've got the block, and you've got the wood members, the framing. if the flood came up this high anyway, they're going to have to fix most of that. They have to remove it to fix the flood damage. And so that's the reason I was asking that question. They may have to just do it anyway to fix the flood damage, because they're going to have to put drywall back on there, and if there's nothing to nail it to, you got rotten wood back there, they're going to have to replace that too, because they're going to have to be able to attach it to something. Or the metal. They did or didn't? I don't think they. Yeah, no, they wouldn't have. So but there's nothing to nail the drywall into. They're probably going to pay. They should pay it. Right. One, two, if they don't, the wind policy, we'll have to look at it. A lot of them say we cover hidden rusting or rotting. And you may have what's called a limited fungi endorsement, and rust is caused by a fungi, and so I can get it under that sometimes too. So make sure you take 3,300 photos, and so I can document that well, okay? So let's talk about contractors, vendors, including water extraction companies, roofers, and some contractors. In their documents, they may have something called an assignment of benefits. What it means is, sometimes it means, Mr. Vendor, whoever it is, I'm giving you my entire insurance claim. Wait, I didn't know I did that. But some of the documents that people are signing hand over the entire insurance claim to a vendor. You know, it may be somebody coming in who's just doing the water extraction. You think they're going to put in some dehumidifiers and air scrubbers, get the water out. And then later, they're hiring the people to build back your kitchen, and your bedroom, and your drywall. It's them picking it and not you, because you've assigned the benefits of the insurance policy to that person. So read that. I would not sign that and give them the entire claim. You should not. Or a roofer. You may say, you know, whether you use me or not, you got to pay me. Or you got to pay me 20% if you don't use me. Don't sign it. Scratch that out. Now, if a water extraction company or a contractor comes in and says, I just want an assignment for the work that I perform, and you get to control, you tell me what I'm going to do, and just for that work that I perform, that's okay if you know the contractor. What I would prefer that people sign is a direction to pay that just says, you know, I hereby direct the insurance company to issue checks for the work performed under this contract to me as a policyholder and to the vendor. And that's just a better way to control the claim. You don't want to give up control of the claim. It's a good question. With your wind policy, does anybody have State Farm?
No, Citizens.
Okay, anybody State Farm? All right, State Farm's policy says that you have to provide a proof of loss within 60 days of the loss, whether they ask for it or not. Nobody knows that's in there in the State Farm policies. And if homeowners fail to do that, or they didn't advise them, there's a statute that helps us on that one, and they have to show that they were somehow prejudiced by that failure to provide a proof of loss. Most of the other policies say that you need to provide a proof of loss within 60 days of our request. And so if they request it, then you do need to fill it out. Now, sometimes the insurance company sends you a proof of loss form and say, hey, we can't pay you until you sign this. And then, you know, the top of it says the loss, the amount of the loss. Box, it's like 6A on the form, says, you know, $25,000. They've already filled it out, and they say, just sign this and we can process your claim. You've just signed something that says, that they drafted, that you say, I, the policyholder, swear under penalties of perjury that this is the amount of my loss. Don't do it. You got to go get your own estimate, and let's look at that. You know, you can't just sign something, a proof of loss form that they filled out with a number, and they go, well, just that just gets us started, and we need to process this thing, get things moving, you need your money, because you've now just sworn that's the amount of the loss. It's got to create the opening. I mean, most of the policies are going to say that have that clause. Some of them don't have it at all, and some of them are going to say it has to come in through an opening created by the storm.
So the fact that it rained sideways and it.
Yeah, but if it sucks out the caulking, then I'm good with that. Yeah, if it just comes and blows through.
Ours only came through the event on the top of the roof. That's the only.
Well, I got to see the policy.
Is
I'd-
that considered wind-driven rain?
Probably is not going to be covered if your policy says that we only cover loss inside the house caused when the rain comes in through an opening caused by the storm.
It might.
The opening has to be, let me look at it, just let me look at it. You go try to find replacement costs, and that's what you're entitled to, replacement costs.
Most of the stuff's like 3 years old, 4
Okay.
years old.
I mean, if you lose, let's say you lose, this couch is destroyed. You got rain down it, got mold on it. Take a picture of the couch, put one love seat, round, with wood,
Yeah.
and then go on the internet and find a cost for it. You get replacement costs.
1,500.
Yeah, list 1,500. And don't drive yourself crazy and where they say, you know, we need receipts. Got to have receipts. They will pester people to death saying, give us the receipts. I don't have receipts. Well, we got to have them. You do not have to give them anything that you do not have.
Correct.
So don't give it to them. I ain't got no receipts. Don't worry about it. And that's how you do it. Just go on the internet, get a couple prices, and it's replacement cost. And I don't care if that was 25 years old and the springs are bad, you get a new one. You paid for replacement costs. No, it doesn't matter. I mean, people burn their own houses down and they still get covered as long as it's not on purpose. I mean, I can't tell you how many people go to Walmart and leave the stove on. They must have all gotten together. But they're still covered. So you had to get up there. Getting up there caused the damage, and you have a duty actually to make reasonable repairs to prevent further damage. Submit it. And if they don't pay it, let me know. Just get an estimate for the whole thing.
Okay.
You don't need, when they give you their estimate, they have a duty. In fact, there's a case that says the insured doesn't have to contact the insurance company and ask if they were joking. It actually says that. Because the insurance company said they never said they had a problem with what we estimated the damage to be. They said they don't have to call you and find out if you were joking. That's your number. And so get their number, get ours. Yeah, but if it's not covered, we want, I'm fair both ways. If it ain't covered, it ain't covered.
It's not covered
But don't get
on-
yourself in trouble. So here's that.
Well,
Remember
that's
that section
what-
of my
that's what I'm
book?
asking, yeah.
That section of my book, you got to read it. It's called Winning Without Your Help.
Yeah.
Most of the people that I talk about there that tried to help me are in jail.
Okay.
So read that section. Let them do what they're going to do. So I told you about the receipts. They're bugging people for receipts. I had a client. She just drove her crazy. So she went to Rooms R Us and Best Buy or wherever and got some receipts, bought a little bit of stuff, and then she went with her computer and because the insurance company told her, you got to have receipts. She's like, my house burned down. Well, that's all right. How are we going to pay? And she made up the receipts, but she screwed it up a little bit. And she had a TV, but that wasn't the receipt for her TV. She went to jail. And I didn't know about it until we went to the deposition at Best Buy, and they said, is this a receipt of yours? And they go, no, and here's why. And I go, oh, crud. That's a problem. So, don't tell them to rip it out. All right, folks, I really appreciate you coming.